This is genuinely insane, as one of the wildest NBA storylines is unfolding right now, and the New York Knicks have now been implicated in this whole situation that initially involved the Los Angeles Clippers, and now the Knicks, Jalen Brunson, and the Knicks front office has been implicated in the whole thing. However, what everybody does not realize is the Knicks are actually pulling this off through a very secret and completely legal weapon, and we are going to discuss all of this, guys. A lot to go over. You probably understand the situation that I'm talking about regarding Kawhi Leonard and Steve Ballmer, and we are going to break all of that down, guys. But before we do that, if you are part of that percentage that's not subscribed to Knicks Digest, make sure to subscribe for daily New York Knicks updates. We got a lot of good videos coming at you guys you do not want to miss out on. We're having a lot of fun on the channel, so make sure to subscribe, have those post notifications on. Do not miss a single New York Knicks update. But let's jump into the video, guys. There is a lot to go over on the Knicks right now. Look, guys, as we know, one of the craziest NBA storylines we've seen in a long time has just started, and it surrounds Kawhi Leonard and Los Angeles Clippers owner Steve Ballmer. And this is precisely why Kawhi Leonard should have signed with the Knicks, but that's not the point. Look, here's the deal. Steve Ballmer is the 8th richest man on the planet right now, according to Forbes. And with that, you can kind of get away with basically whatever you want for the most part. I mean, obviously within reason, but like you can get away with a lot. Steve Ballmer is the single richest person to own a team. Now, obviously, there's ownership groups that you can combine that will have more money than Steve Ballmer, but it's only one or two. Steve Ballmer is as rich as it gets when it comes to being an owner of any sports team. So much so that if the NBA didn't have a salary cap, let's see, Jokic, Giannis, Shea, LeBron, Steph Curry, Kawhi still, all would be on the Clippers. And that's just to start it. Jalen Brunson might. Everyone would be on the Clippers. That's how rich Steve Ballmer is. If there was no salary cap, if this is baseball rules, everybody would be on the Clippers. Now, with that in mind, Steve Ballmer has to figure out a way to get his guys money so he could sort of play by those games. And that is sort of what happened with Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers in a major way. It was revealed today in a very shocking situation from Pablo Torres, who is a reporter who, I mean, recently got roasted and now is showing up and showing out, showing that he does have real sources and that he is a real reporter, unlike what Bill Simmons said when he roasted him. But Pablo Torres mentioned that Kawhi Leonard signed a $28 million endorsement deal for a no-show job with a fraudulent tree planting company funded by $50 million from Clippers owner Steve Ballmer, according to documents that were obtained by Pablo Torres. And Torres said it was to circumvent the salary cap. So, with this in mind, the Los Angeles Clippers, they effectively paid Kawhi Leonard a ton of money off the books so he could get a lot of money, so he would stay with the Clippers and continue to get paid a ton of money, while the Clippers are paying Kawhi Leonard to play basketball. However, they're just doing it through a fake shell corporation, effectively, so Leonard can get more money outside, so he could, be staying with the Los Angeles Clippers. Now, not only is this against the NBA's rules, of course, but it's also illegal. So now Steve Ballmer, the Clippers, and Kawhi Leonard have found out that they're in their nightmare scenario. Usually when you're one of the most 10 richest people on the planet, you can get away with a lot of this stuff. However, once you get into sports, the sports demons come out and they find out everything you've done. Well, time to sweat. Because, as we know, the New York Knicks are a very secretive organization that keeps a lot of things under wraps for a whole lot of reasons. One of them just being it's the smart thing to do with sports. Why would you give away any information on your team? It's best off to keep that all in-house so teams can't use that against you. However, there's also just a lot of stuff that people wonder about Leon Rose and William Wesley, who are very connected through the CAA agency, Creative Artists Agency, so I guess that CAA agency was a little redundant of myself, but we know that Leon Rose was a super agent there, connected to some of the biggest NBA players and just stars in the world. I mean, it's not just athletes who are part of CAA. You have singers, you have actors. CAA is an agency. They represent talent. I mean, some of them are sports agents. Some of them are talent agents. They're representing singers or actors or anyone else who might need an agent. Business people, for instance. Like, it's a ton of people who need this. It's not just athletes or actors or stuff like that. It goes a lot deeper than that. I mean, hell, you could probably nowadays there's like podcast hosts who have agents. Not me, like people who matter. People who change lives, not this. Ugh. I'm messing around. But look, the Knicks, they have now been involved in this whole situation because Pablo Torres indicated that after outing Kawhi Leonard in the Clippers that he is looking into the New York Knicks and Jalen Brunson next. Now, that's where things get a little bit iffy for the Knicks. As Torres said, word for word, sorry Pablo, I did not add the S at the end of your name, I was typing fast. He said, my tip line has never been more used by enemies of Jalen Brunson. How we arrived with the Knicks is how I will have to refer to the reporting I may or may not do on this. It certainly was interesting. That contract extension, it's a pretty good deal for the Knicks. I don't want to get ahead of myself. It's a bit of a tease. I'm showing a little bit of ankle with you, which is basically him saying that he's kind of teasing what he's going to be doing next, which is looking into the whole New York Knicks situation with Jalen Brunson and everything that came out of that, because as we know, that was a whole can of worms that was opened up when it was announced by Woj in the 2024 NBA offseason that in a largely unprecedented financial concession to give roster flexibility to a contender, New York Knicks star Jalen Brunson had agreed on a 4-year, $156.5 million contract extension. His agent Sam Rose, you know, the son of Leon Rose, he and CAA were informing ESPN of that. $113 million less than the guaranteed money he would have been able to receive in 1 year. Jalen Brunson sacrificed $113 million effectively when you look at the surface level. Here's the thing. We're looking at the surface level when we see this stuff. Now let's dig in a little bit deeper based off everything that we know about Jalen Brunson and the New York Knicks. We're going to do this quick because I don't want this video to go on for 55 million years. But look, I'm just going to clear a few things up for you guys right off the bat. One, Jalen Brunson, yes, he did. He completely sacrificed $113 million that he could have waited and got next year on a 5-year deal. He didn't do that. Partially being the teammate and the whole situation that he was trying to do and that he was open to it and that Brunson decided he doesn't need that money. Part of it. It's not the biggest part because people, I'm not saying Jalen Brunson's some money hungry, like greedy person. I'm not saying that at all. But if, you know, I could get an extra $113 million, I'd do it. I'm sorry, money talks. And you can't blame anyone. Like, I don't blame OG Anunoby for taking that massive contract. Why do I blame him? $42 million per year? Hell yeah, I'm opting in. You kidding me? I'm not taking a pay cut if I don't have to. But look, with Jalen Brunson, it also goes farther than that. He becomes a free agent in 4 years from now when he's a little bit older. The Knicks are going to pay him a ton. The salary cap is going to go up. That money is going to get made up in the long run. That is the one thing that nobody's talking about. The Knicks can make that up in a couple years, and Brunson is still going to get that money. He knows that. Sam Rose knows that. Why? Because his dad, Leon Rose, runs the Knicks. It's not that hard to just dig in a little deep, like, oh, Jalen Brunson's completely connected to the New York Knicks, and also now he knows since he did this, his dad gets to keep his job for as long as his dad wants that job, whether JB is long gone or not to retirement in 20 years. If Rick Brunson wants to sit around, they're not firing him. Also, on top of that, you just look at everything that's happening. Brunson, again, he gets that money made up. That's the one thing, and I mentioned this last year as well. He's going to get it made up in the long run. On top of that, there's one thing to consider here. Shout out to Chris Persianen because I'm taking this from his tweet. Like, this is where I'm remembering it off the top of my head. Look, the Mavericks offered him 4-year, $55 million. A deal that Jalen Brunson initially was okay with until he started playing too well to where he wasn't okay with that deal. He wanted more money. The Mavericks couldn't offer more money. So what does Jalen Brunson do? He hits free agency. The Knicks become the first team in NBA history to give a $100 million plus deal to a player who had never made an All-Star game before. The Knicks took a gamble. Why did they take that gamble that was widely regarded as an overpay? Because they believed in Jalen Brunson. Is there any world that maybe they said, you know, want to help us out considering we helped you out? It's possible that that had an impact on things. I'm not banking on it per se. And also, this is the part of the video that I mentioned that I did say a year ago, something I'm now starting to regret saying out loud, that I do wonder if maybe there's something under the table here. Sorry, I thought my TV was about to go off and start making noise because I do have a TV in the background behind this green screen behind me. But a little peek behind the curtain. You guys, if you watch the happy hour shows, you've seen that I'm in my bedroom. But with Jalen Brunson, with this whole situation, I did mention that it wouldn't be surprising to see something like that happen. I wouldn't have been stunned. We saw Brunson take the pay cut, but also it's a little bit different considering he can make that money back. Now, the Knicks, they held the 49th pick in the NBA draft last go around in June. Well, they would have also had the 56th overall pick, but the NBA took that pick away for tampering before signing Jalen Brunson. Did the Knicks tamper? Absolutely. There's no way they didn't tamper. They totally tampered, and I totally tamper again. You trade a second-round pick for Jalen Brunson. Whoop-de-doo. Good trade. Now, on top of that, we look at the Knicks books. They're very clean. The Knicks they're not handing out money like it's Girl Scout cookies unless you're OG Anunoby, who demanded it because the Knicks had just traded for Mikal. He felt like his role was being threatened. So that makes a little bit more sense. He's like, I could go somewhere else. But OG stuck around for the money and also had one of the, if not the best year, it was the best year of his NBA career. On top of that, we look at the one big contract that is also on the Knicks, and it wasn't signed by the Knicks. Karl-Anthony Towns was signed by the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Knicks just traded for him. It's a little bit different. We look at Mikal Bridges. Pretty under market contract when you consider some of the contracts these other guys around him are getting who are putting up similar numbers. Josh Hart's contract is very just accurate, if you ask me. Mitchell Robinson's contract, fairly accurate from when they signed him. Gershon Yabusele took a bit of a pay cut for the Knicks. Why? Well, we'll see. But at the same time, Deuce McBride's on a cheap contract. Has it ever occurred to anyone that maybe the Knicks are good at signing bargain contracts like Jordan Clarkson to a minimum deal, stuff like that? Has it ever occurred that maybe the Knicks are just good at what they do? That's not possible anymore because Steve Ballmer and the Clippers pulled something off to Kawhi, whose only connection to the Clippers is that he grew up in the Los Angeles area and rooted for the Los Angeles Lakers. Really? Come on now. Let's be a little more realistic with this situation. Brunson was deeply connected to the Knicks this whole time. Now it's time to also mention one other thing when it comes down to the New York Knicks, and that is Brock Aller. Now, Brock Aller is a salary cap genius, and that is something that we're going to have to talk about moving forwards. But also, when we look at Sports Illustrated, they said the closest precedent one has in determining a punishment for the salary cap envisioned likely stems from the Timberwolves deal with Joe Smith prior to the 1998-99 season. After Smith signed a series of short-term contracts that allowed Minnesota to better negotiate with him, the association came down hard on the organization, finding it over $3 million to take away 5 first-round picks, though 2 were later returned. But if you look up on Wikipedia, you will see that there was a lot of draft picks that the Timberwolves did forfeit. I didn't know why until literally reading this, because I don't really look back at those drafts too often in the early 2000s when I was 3. Sorry. Also, if I made you feel old by saying that, I profusely apologize. Brunson has put up 26 points per game, 3 rebounds, and 7 assists last season, shooting 49% from the field and 38% from 3. He's a phenomenal player. Nobody's denying that. And, well, he was worth a lot more money. But the Knicks have the best salary cap specialist in the world who won an award from The Athletic. And Mike Vorkunov mentioned, the senior athletic basketball writer, said that Brock Aller has been a key figure in the Knicks front office as it resurrected a long-term stumbling franchise. New York has been one of the smarter organizations in the league since Leon Rose took over as president, and Aller has been seen as a key reason behind some of those shrewd moves. On top of that, Aller, who worked for David Griffin in the Cavs, David Griffin said he's a salary cap wizard. Brock Aller almost got hired by the Charlotte Hornets as their GM before the Hornets went another direction. Many thought that Brock Aller kind of liked his job with the Knicks and that he's getting paid real well to be the best salary cap manager on the planet, and he's got a good gig. Why leave that? Why tarnish your legacy with the Charlotte Hornets existing? It's one of those situations where things kind of make sense here. Honestly, when it comes down to it, I don't think that the Knicks really did anything with Jalen Brunson. I don't think Jalen Brunson is getting some sort of under-the-table extra money, really. Is he getting advantages, considering that Leon Rose still has a ton of pull in CAA, including his son Sam? Yeah, I actually do. I do think that CAA, because of this, is like, well, look what Jalen Brunson did for Leon. Let's kind of get Sam some good commission here. Because remember, Sam Rose makes a commission of Jalen Brunson's salary. So either Sam's also implicated in it, or he was fine with losing a whole chop of money. It gets interesting. So wouldn't CAA focus a lot more on getting Jalen Brunson legal endorsements? How we see Jalen Brunson doing a ton of endorsements? Doesn't that make some sense now? When the second biggest athlete in New York City, only behind the best player in the MLB and Aaron Judge, is all over the place, it's starting to make more sense now. It's starting to make more sense on how Jalen Brunson decided to take this offer because he knew he'd be able to cut money and get it back later, help the Knicks win. If the Knicks win the NBA Finals, which is a lot easier under this contract, Brunson's going to make so much money off endorsements, and he already is. So it's all going to work out in the end, is what I'm saying, unlike the Clippers, who they probably pulled this off. Guys, What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. I'm sorry this video was so long. The last time I did a 15-minute video was when the Knicks got eliminated from the playoffs, and that was a whole rant, but I did want to discuss this whole thing in depth because I have thought about this in the past and wondered about that salary cap thing. So it's been a year, so if I sounded a little rusty on the knowledge, I am sorry. I tried to remember everything that I mentioned a year ago, but I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you didn't, you could feel free to tell me to go screw off in the comments down below or whatever. I'll read them. I'll get back to you. Unless you're mean. I'm probably not going to get back to you if you're mean to me in the comments, but if you're nice to me, I will. Guys, like this video, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Have a great day. Go Knicks. He's innocent!